Hello everybody, my name is Joey. I'm part of the Chart Guys team, been a full-time trader and technical analyst for 7 years. Here to talk about some crypto. We've got Bitcoin bulls trying to shape up a weekly high or low. Going to talk about what they need to do from here to get that done. Then what are we going to be looking for after that? That's the main topic of conversation today. Got a few alts showing some promise, and that'll be something important to keep eyes on, because if we start to see alts confirming weekly uptrends, that will be a big point in favor for Bitcoin remaining a monthly bull flag. So let's get on into the charts, and we'll start with the monthly on Bitcoin. Just to reiterate that as long as we're holding monthly 12 EMA, bulls are in favor to go to new all-time highs. We're obviously closer to losing the monthly 12 EMA than we are to new all-time highs, but we can just keep things nice and simple. As long as monthly 12 EMA is support, Bitcoin bulls are fine. So zooming into the weekly, we know we haven't had a weekly uptrend since we lost it back here in April. And after this move, bulls were hopeful they'd get a weekly uptrend. After this move, bulls were hopeful they'd get a weekly uptrend. And now, same thing after this move off of the early August 49K bottom. And to the dismay of bulls, we retraced more than 50% of the move up. And that decreases the odds that we can get this weekly uptrend, which would mean holding 49K and breaking 65K. That being said, we're still looking for a weekly bounce, and I will personally be watching out for a weekly lower high compared to 65K. If we're not to see that, bulls would need to see increasing bull volume on the move up if we're going to go through and just break this resistance. So looking at the weekly candle, looks good now. It's obviously only Tuesday, got a lot of week left, and on this bounce, it won't be surprising if we get a daily lower high compared to 59.8K. That is the most likely scenario if we have increasing bull volume continue, which right now we do have increasing bull volume with the big day yesterday. Then we would have to watch out for the potential that we could just go right through this resistance, but not going to really ever bank on the less likely scenario personally. It's a tough way to make a living, so we'll continue to monitor that volume, and we've got a nice 4-hour uptrend, 4-hour 12 EMA guide for the daily move, as we often do have. So we'll say that 56.4K is the key support to hold to keep the daily bounce going. Once that is lost, then bulls will need to confirm a daily uptrend. So it's all about uptrends. It's one thing to get the strong move off the low, and we can go back to the weekly for this example. It's one thing to get these strong moves off of the low. That's kind of catching the opposing team on the back foot. But to truly show a shift in momentum, you need to pass the ball back to them, let consolidation happen, and then overpower once again and get through that resistance. So we're watching for it on the weekly, and we're going to have that same standard on the daily. So next time we consolidate on the daily, bulls have a good deal of space for higher low compared to 52.55.0, and then going to need the daily uptrend to see some weekly bounce follow through. And again, anytime you get a trend change, you've got to zoom out to the next time frame and see what's our most likely scenario there. So we can't get too jazzed if we get a daily uptrend confirmed, because we know a weekly lower high is the most likely scenario. It's the same deal that we were talking about with this 3-day uptrend to get that last weekly bounce getting underway. We knew that we could not get too jazzed if we broke 62.745, and people don't like to hear it, but that's the game. That's the game, and multiple time frame analysis is really helpful in keeping us from getting bamboozled. So that's what we're looking at on Bitcoin. As far as Bitcoin dominance, for me, nothing's really changing until we break out of this sideways range. We can drop a box on it, or try to drop a box on it. Until we break out of this range, nothing's really changing in the intermediate term for Bitcoin dominance. And as I've been saying for months now, until we lose 2-week 12 EMA, nothing's really changing on dominance. Alt bulls, Bitcoin bulls, obviously want to see Bitcoin dominance lose 2-week 12 EMA and have that be a true alt season, but no signs of that at the moment. So Ethereum, let's go to the weekly. Similarly, trying to shape up a weekly higher low, but our retrace was much deeper. Bulls held the 21.16 low by a skosh, and now they have relative weakness. So we have the same daily bounce underway, but we're not to daily 12 EMA yet, which has been topping out all of our bounces. If we look at Bitcoin, we can see we are up and over that daily 12 EMA. And you can use this same metric of evaluation for all of the altcoins. Any coin that is above daily 12 EMA, stronger. Any coin that is below daily 12 EMA, weaker. It's quite simple, but using this comparison to help us position in relatively strong names bullish or relatively weak names bearish can really make our jobs easier as traders. So bulls going to need to regain a daily uptrend, same as Bitcoin, if they want to get a weekly bounce underway. And then even more so than Bitcoin, bears have a lot of room for a lower high compared to 2820 on Ethereum. And we got to remember, Ethereum has lost its monthly 12 EMA. So structure here is weak, and we still have to be aware that a 6-month equilibrium is very possible here. We would have to lose the low of 2100 for that to start to shape up, and then we'd be looking for a higher low compared to 879. So definitely possible and something to be watching out for, especially as long as ETH BTC remains weak. So we know that when we got that yearly consolidation underway back in the beginning of 2024, after we broke our quarterly EQ to the downside, on this candle, the Q2 candle, there was hope that, all right, maybe this is going to lack follow through and it can be a yearly bull flag. And bulls were never able to confirm a weekly uptrend. It's the same deal as Bitcoin on the weekly currently. Nice moves, no uptrend. Nice move, no uptrend. And now we're just right back down to the lows. So we've got clear daily 12 EMA resistance. Bulls were hopeful last Monday that might be changing. Weekly bounce underway over daily 12 EMA. Nope, bears got the close below and we're continuing to reject. So as long as ETH BTC is rejecting from daily 12 EMA, then ETH is going to be weak. So on the note of ratio charts looking like they were going to shift, but not quite pulling it off, we've got the same thing on LTC. It was looking like, all right, weekly uptrend, first time in ages, pushing over weekly 12 EMA. Bear smacked it back down, got the close below. So the status quo remains for Litecoin. As long as LTC BTC is rejecting from weekly 12 EMA, it's going to remain relatively weak. So as far as LTC USD itself, got bulls trying to shape up a daily higher low. You can see everybody else has been bouncing for days, a few days at this point, and LTC USD is still just struggling. So if we can break the high of yesterday, 61.82, that'd be a daily bounce getting underway, and then anything below 68.53 would be a daily lower high. And until we either get through 68.53 or fall down through 59, nothing's really changing here as we continue to battle weekly 12 EMA on LTC USD. So as far as some other alts, Dan was covering for me last week because I was on vacation. Vacation was great, by the way. I can't say that I'm happy to be back, but I suppose that's the standard when you get back from vacation. But last time I was streaming, we were talking about weekly higher low on Sol BTC potentially shaping up. And if that did, we'd have relative strength in Sol USD. So that is what we have. The weekly range continues to tighten on Sol BTC. And as a result, Sol USD is nearly about to get its weekly higher low set. So if bulls can get through 138.13, current high is 138, then that weekly higher low would be set. And we would watch out for a weekly lower high compared to this double top up here at 162. So going to be the same as everybody else though. Got to get a daily uptrend. Nice moves off of the lows. Can we get some uptrends to punch it through? So bulls do have room for a daily higher low compared to 120 next time we get consolidation. And pretty similar looking chart to Bitcoin here with the 4-hour little tightening range, breaking bull here. Now you can see that relative strength. If we look at Bitcoin, we're not quite through that Monday morning or Monday evening resistance. So Sol with some anticipated relative strength. You love to see it actually play out when you can hunt it ahead of time. So I got a list of some other alts to look at here. Let's look at FET. So FET and a few coins have this, where we've got a potential weekly inverse head and shoulders. So FET's weekly higher low is set. That has relative strength. And now we're looking up to 147.7 and 155.6. If bulls can break both of those levels, that'll be a monthly bounce getting underway, and we will look for a monthly lower high compared to all-time highs at 348. But bulls love to see this relative strength after coming far off of the top, 80%. So let's see, that could be a quarterly higher low starting to shape up. It could be the early signs of it. So we'll have to go step by step. First step will be confirming weekly inverse head and shoulders to get the monthly bounce underway. And then bulls want to retrace more than 50% of that move down. So if we pull our fib on that, pretty much if they confirm the inverse head and shoulders, they'll be beginning to create room for a monthly higher low because that 0.5 retrace is at 156. So going into the daily, still got to regain a daily uptrend like everybody else. And you can just see this relative strength. We probably got, we'll just go hourly 12 EMA. My gut says 2-hour 12 EMA, but I'm fearing being fancy. Okay, glad I went with the fear of fancy. So it's just hourly 12 EMA support. As long as that support, there's no notable 4-hour consolidation getting underway. Once we lose 4-hour 12 EMA, that'll be daily consolidation shaping up. So we got that. We got ton playing off of the falling wedge that we were mapping out last time. Nope, that's not ton. Who's the falling wedge? I swore it was ton. Am I in the wrong chart? Nope. Yeah, we'll just look at ton independently. Weekly bounce getting underway. Who had that falling wedge? I don't know. That's probably one of these other names I got on the list. I thought it was a T name though. We'll pop through in a second. I'm pretty sure ton is not what I was trying to talk about here, but while we're on it, weekly bounce underway. Anything below 726 is going to be a lower high, and bulls got to get a daily uptrend to see some follow through. Let me click through the T's real quick. I got to find this falling wedge because it's a beauty. There it is, TIA, not ton. So last week we were talking about this falling wedge, and here we go, lower lows without follow through into a bounce. So it's still relatively weak for sure. And if bulls can get a daily uptrend from here, then we will be looking at a weekly bounce playing out, and ultimately bulls need to regain a weekly uptrend if anything's going to shift here. But the main reason I want to talk about this is the importance of identifying when you're within a wedge, because on the move down here, if we look at the weekly, bulls had room for a weekly higher low. But when you know you're seeing lower lows without follow through, you do not want to play off of those lows with a tight stop below. You either got to use a smaller size and give yourself wiggle room, or wait for a smaller time frame stair step, like a daily stair step or something like that after the bear break. But it's just a good example of how we could be looking at this, whether it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and know that we need to be wary of lower lows not seeing follow through. And it played out nicely. And at this point, if you did take a daily stair step, you could be risk free on this name. So what else we got? AAVE is trying to push up to multi-year highs. It continues to be a lead bull here, and we're trying to break out of this valence range that we've got mapped out. And if bulls can get through 153.72, we'll be at the highest levels since May 2022. So we've got a little weekly bull flag confirming, and just one resistance overhead, and then a pretty serious lack of resistance up until 261. So key support on the weekly is going to be 116, and we are, what do we have here? Yeah, we've got a daily uptrend. We've got a daily uptrend, so lots of room for a daily higher low compared to 119.56. Next consolidation, and nice 4-hour uptrend as a guide for the daily, and bulls are really pushing it as we speak here. 5-minute 12 EMA short-term support. Once that's lost, it'll be zoom out game to 15-minute, hourly, 4-hour, etc. APE, everybody's favorite pointless coin, or maybe top 5 pointless coin, has done something that it hasn't done in quite some time. So we're down at all-time lows. We know it's a stinker, but bulls have just secured a weekly uptrend, and we have relative strength compared to peers. So weakness here today, relative weakness, which isn't surprising after going like what, 50%, 58% right off of the lows, but bulls will be looking for a daily higher low. If we hold daily 12 EMA, that consolidation will be healthy. And right now we've got a monthly bounce underway. So we know it's a turd, but it's kind of along the lines of ZEC. We know ZEC is a turd, but when it got this monthly move, which this monthly move was really ZEC BTC getting its monthly bounce. But you can get in on turds. You just want to make sure you don't overstay your welcome. So as far as APE, we know it's a turd, but if we were to bounce up to monthly 12 EMA, which rejected our last monthly bounce, it's like 75% from here. Yeah, 79% from current prices. So worth keeping an eye on. I don't know what liquidity is looking like on this thing these days. Not the worst. Not the worst by any means. Definitely tradable. Definitely tradable. Sometimes I like to just go to the small time frames and see if we're gapping around. And if you're like not really gapping around much on the 1 minute time frame, you know you're good. If you're gapping on the 5 minute time frame, you know that's going to be very difficult to trade, which actually we do have a couple in here. So it's thinner. You want to make sure you're using limit orders if you're putting any kind of size into that. Let's see, FTM, last one that I've got on my list, another weekly inverse head and shoulders, trying to confirm. So this FTM, you know, that's, if we look back at FET, you know, almost identical chart. So a lot of the techs are going to apply similarly here. We got resistance at 53.46 and 54.70. If those break, that'll be a monthly bounce getting underway, and then we'll look for a lower high compared to 122.89. And then the question will be, is this a quarterly high or low shaping up or not? So that's all I got on my list. Let's hop into chat, see what y'all are talking about. Let's see, RXR, BTC price action this year is a disaster. Yeah, I mean, we're just range bound. If you're in touch with what we've got going on in terms of, you know, are we trending or are we ranging, then, you know, hopefully you're not getting bamboozled with it. So when we're ranging, you gotta lighten up the trading and respect that we are within a balancing range. And when we're in a balancing range, bulls are playing long off the lows, bears are playing short off the highs, and we can anticipate chop within. So they're definitely, balancing ranges aren't sexy and they're not nearly as fun as a trending market, but it's part of every market is balance. So just got to respect that. Let's see, Tosh K, hello. Let's see, I'll get back to those requests in a minute. Gonna work through here. Paula, hello. Ryan B, happy September, my friend. Bo Jenkins, Papa Laurent, Amigo Boy. Hi, everybody. I did enjoy the trip. Thank you for that. Let's see. RXR, Bitcoin is basically a 50-50. I don't know what you're speaking to specifically, 50-50 for what. I think it's going to be at the mercy of the broad market. We got the Fed bringing on the pivot on September 18th. I haven't looked at the probabilities recently, but we were at 100% odds of a rate cut, and there are very damning stats for what that does to the market when the Fed pivots. So if the S&P 500 is going to follow historical precedents and pull back 30% after a Fed pivot, then I would imagine Bitcoin is going to see some 6-month consolidation personally. Let's see, Mr. Mischief. Would I consider the 4-hour and inverse head and shoulders? Nope, I wouldn't. On Bitcoin, I would not. I'm imagining you're looking at like this, and then that, and then this. I'd just stick with the 4-hour uptrend. Typically, if you have to kind of like sell a pattern, or like make a case for something being a pattern, it's not worth it. The reason we have the patterns is to be able to kind of classify our standard TA like evaluation metrics of our follow-through magnitude and retracement size. That's really what all of these patterns are. It's just like a different form of understanding what the implications are of different degrees of follow-through magnitude and different degrees of retracement. So if a pattern doesn't fit clean, then just revert back to those evaluation metrics. So if you break resistance without follow-through, that tells you bulls are not that strong. If you retrace more than 50% of your previous move up, that tells you that bears are making ground and trying to set up a pivot on a larger time frame. Those types of things is ultimately what patterns are telling us. And as an example, if we've got a falling wedge, that's not a good first line. Let's do something like that. If we've got a falling wedge and price is doing this, and we're not seeing any follow through on these lower lows, like yes, you can draw a wedge, but the key element here is the fact that in a trending move, let me not lose that. In a trending move, a strong trending move, you're going down, you're bouncing up, you're seeing follow through, and then you're rejecting previous support as resistance and continuing that pattern down. That's a strong move. When you're breaking support and then bouncing right back up into it, and then breaking support again, and then bouncing right back up into it, breaking support again, bouncing right back up into it, that tells you that bears are becoming exhausted. So like, is it the fact that it's a wedge that makes it powerful? No, it's a way to visualize what we're seeing with follow through magnitude and retracement size. So yes, that is that. Yeah, GIA, AAVE is definitely notably strong. Starwood up. All right, I'm actually going to have to cut it off here. Sorry to not be able to get into requests today, but I've got a Chart Guys stream coming on up. So we'll see how long this Bitcoin daily bounce can get going. Don't be bamboozled if we get the lower high. We'll see if we can get the trend change after it. And then even if we do get the trend change, don't be bamboozled if we get a weekly lower high. Even if we go up and break weekly resistance, I think the odds of just like going straight through or something like that are very low. Like if we go up and break weekly resistance, I'll be looking for bears to defend these highs that they've defended many times before. The only thing that will have me not looking for that is if we get some fundamental catalyst, with the election coming up and whatnot. That's something that could certainly bring in a wild card. So if we get a fundamental catalyst or if we have notably increasing bull volume. So that's the only thing that's going to have me really thinking that we're breaking out of this range until we get out of it. So we do have CPI tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern. That'll bring some volatility. And we'll see, does that get some daily consolidation underway? If it does, if we get a bear reaction to CPI, bulls looking for this weekly higher low, going to be playing off 52.55.0, looking for a daily higher low and trend change and everything that we already talked about. So thank you for spending some of your afternoon with me. I will see you all probably Thursday. We'll follow up on CPI, see how that did, see how this weekly higher low is looking, and then look forward to our next steps. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time.